talk about Lightning Messaging Service. So the Lightning Messaging Service is the first Salesforce technology that enables you to communicate between Visual Force pages, Aura component and Lightning Web component anywhere in Lightning pages, including utility components. So in Salesforce, we have three programming models to create the user interface. So the first programming model is Visual Force page, second one is Aura component, and third one is Lightning Web component. So till now, we are able to communicate between Visual Force pages. We can able to communicate easily between the Aura components, between the Lightning Web components. But there was a challenge when we try to communicate from Visual Force page to Aura or Visual Force page to LWC or vice versa. So there are some alternatives approaches, but each approach is unique and not standardized. So every time you have to learn a different way to communicate from Aura to Visual Force page, LWC to Visual Force page, and passing the data or a message was very challenging. To standardize this, Salesforce come up with this solution called Lightning Messaging Service that gives you a standardized approach to communicate the data or to pass the data from anywhere to anywhere, from LWC component 5 to Visual Force page 1, or from Visual Force page 1 to Aura 5. Any component, anytime you can pass using the Lightning Messaging Service. To use this, we have to use the Winter 20 Salesforce release. So let's go and how we can set up this Lightning Message Service in our project. So there are some steps and we have to follow these steps very carefully. So the first step is we have to create a folder called message channel, and that folder we have to create under the path force app / main / default. So let's go to our VS Code and create a folder under the force app main default. So I just closed everything in my folder structure, and now I'll go to default and create a folder, and I'll give the folder name message channels. So the name should be same. So first step is done. We have created the folder message channels. Let's go to our slides and see the second step. Now we have to create a file. Start with the channel name .message channel -meta.xml inside that folder. So suppose if I want my channel name to be sample message channel, so the file name will be sample message channel dot, this is the extension and it should be always same, .message channel -meta.xml. So if you look at this folder structure, I already created under the message channels. We have to create our message channel file. This simple message channel is your name, whatever name you want to give. So let's go and create this file as well. So I'll select this, I'll say add new file, and I'll give this name sample message channel dot message channel -meta.xml. So our file is ready, meta file. Right now it's empty and there is no shortcut way to create this file, so we have to do it right now manually. Maybe in the future there will be a way. So now let's move to the third step. Now we have to add some meta configuration, XML definition of the channel file. So let's go and add this. You can copy paste this configuration from your documentation of Lightning Message Channel as well. Two things are very important. So if I comment this out, these are the standard tags. This is the standard Lightning Message Channel tag and all. These are some meaningful and important tag that you have to configure. So the master label is the name of your channel. So in our case, our channel name is sample message channel. So I have given the master label name sample message channel. I want my message channel to be exposed. Yes, I want, so that other component can use this. Then you can describe the description of this message channel, and we are saying message channel to pass the data. when we have to create the message field, you can create as many as you want number of fields. So here I'm creating a field name LMS data, and I'm defining some description for this field. This is the field to pass the data. You can create another field if you want, like record ID, and this is a field to pass record ID. Like this, you can create as many fields as you want. Now, this field name should be unique, and this is the field name that we're gonna use basically to pass the data. Right? You should not create two same field with the same name like this LMS data. It should be unique within the lightning message field. So in this demo, we are just gonna use only one field, that is LMS data, and this field we're gonna use in our whole project to pass the data. So now let's go back to our slide. So our third step is ready. We add the following XML definition to message channel file. Now the fourth step is, now we have to tell our project structure that we have this file and we have to update our manifest / package.xml file by adding the lightning message channel. So let's go to our manifest. If you close everything, and then you will see a manifest folder here. In manifest, you have to select package.xml, and under the package.xml, you have to define the file name. We'll say here first, say types, and copy this as it is, that's better. And then what we have to do is change the static resource name to lightning message channel. So this is our meta description here, and this is the lightning message channel. Now we have added this. So let's go to our slide and see the last step, that is the API version should be above 47 and above. Let's go to our package.xml and see the version. So our version is 49, that is obviously above than 47. So to work with lightning message channel, we have the version should be greater than 47, so it's there. So these are the steps that are required to set up the lightning message channel. Let's go and deploy this. And to deploy, you just type sftx4 source push, and now you see it's deployed successfully. So that we will see how we can use this lightning message service that we have set up. We learn how to communicate from one lightning web component to another lightning web component using lightning messaging service. So till now we already seen we can communicate from parent component to a child component by passing the data, and we can communicate from child component to parent component by triggering an event. But till now we don't have any solution in which we have to communicate between two lightning components. Those are independent. So if you look at this diagram, lightning web component A and lightning web component X, they don't have any relationship in between. There is no parent child relationship. Both are independent component, and I have a scenario in which my component A want to pass some data to a component X. To solve this issue, we're gonna use lightning messaging service. So let's see how we can start. So let's go to our VS Code. In the previous video, we already set up the message channel. We have given the message channel name sample message channel. So we're gonna use this message channel for our communication. So let's create two components, and we'll give this name LMS component A, and we'll create another component. We'll give this name LMS component X. Our both component is created. Let's go and see the first step given in the slide. So the first step is to reference a message channel in a lightning web component. Let's go and put the message channel in our component. So we'll say import sample message channel. You can give any name here, but the reference path should be correct. So it's Salesforce slash message channel slash our message channel name. So if I go down and copy my message channel name, my message channel name is sample message channel. I'll say sample message channel underscore underscore C. So this is how we give the reference to our message channel. Let's go to the second step. In Lightning Message Service, we have different types of APIs, like we can have application scope, publish method, subscribe method, unsubscribe method, message context. Based on your use case, we can import these from the Lightning Message Service. So our use case here is my component A wants to communicate or publish a message to a component X. So I need message context and publish for my component A. So let's go and import that. I'll say import message context from Lightning Message Service, and we need to import publish as well. We are just importing it right now. Let's go to our next step. So the next step is message context wire adapter is used to get information of all LWC using LMS. So we're gonna use this adapter that we have imported from Lightning Message Service, this message context, and pass it to the wire service. It will return an object that gives an information of all the Lightning Web components those are using the message service. So let's go and call this wire adapter. So to call the wire adapter, we'll have to import the wire service, and we'll say @wire. I want to call the message context, and this context returns an object that tell me which all component are using the messaging service, and that thing I'm gonna store in a property that is context. So now I have the reference which all component are listening to the message service. Now the next step is I want to send the message to a component X on click of something, right? So let's go and create some UI stuff here. So for that, first what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a lightning card. The lightning card is here. I have given the name LMS component and say this name A, and we have to create the lightning input field where he will write, or user will write his message that he wants to publish. So we'll say SLDS margin around the card. We are giving some margin around the card, and then we'll create a input field. This input is of type text. Then we need a label. We'll say enter message to publish, and then we want on key press the message should type. I'll say on key up input handler, and that's it. So I'll close this lightning input, and what I'll do, I'll just wrap it here. So now on type of input field, this handler gets called up. So let's create this method here, input handler. It will receive an event, and it will give us the data that we are typing, the event.target.value, and we have to store this data. For that, we're going to create a property. We'll say put value. We'll say this dot input value equal to event.target.value. So we are storing the value that we are typing, and now I want a button that should trigger my publish message. So I'll create a margin div again, and I'll create a button here. We can use the lightning button. Say lightning button. Say label publish, and on click of this button, we're gonna call the publish message. And let's close this button. So once click this button, it will call the publish message method. And now here we want to publish the message. So let's see how we can publish the message. To publish the message, we have to call the publish method. So the syntax of publish method is, it will take the message context. Message context is the object that we are getting from the wire adapter message context. Then we have to pass the message channel. Message channel is the reference of our message channel, that is sample MC, and the message that we want to pass. So we have this context, we already call it from the wire adapter. We have this sample MC, we already given the reference in the top. We don't have the message, so let's go and create the message. Message is nothing, it's the data that we want to publish. So let's go to VS Code, and we already import the publish method, so I'll say publish. So the syntax we already know, I'll just paste it here for the reference. First is a message context. Message context is this dot context. Know which all Lightning Web Component are using the LMS service. Out of that, which all are using this special message channel, right? There can be multiple message channel, but we are looking for this message channel, sample MC, and then we want to pass the message. We don't have a message right now, so let's create the message here. We'll say constant message equal to, and as I said when in the previous video we were creating our message channel, we have to give the field name. So this field name gonna use to pass the data or to receive the data. So I'm copying the name. I'll go here and say my LMS data then object. You can pass the name directly data here as well, but I always prefer to use object, because with a single field you can pass many things. So I'll say I want to pass the value, and the value that I want to pass is the this dot input value. Input value is nothing, the value that we have typed. So our publish message is ready, and the code for the component A is ready, that he wants to send the data whatever we type in the input field. And before deploying, we want this thing to change true, and we want to place our component to a target like app page. You can place it for any other target as well based on your need. So we are targeting only app page, so I'm using app page. So now our A is ready, but X component is still empty. So we'll follow the same approach for this. First, we have to tell our component X that you should use sample MC message channel. So now our component message channel has been referred here. Now in the X channel, we want to receive the data that is published by component A. For that, what we can do is we need to import the subscribe method and unsubscribe method. First, we'll look into the subscribe method. Subscribe, and the important thing, that is message context we have to import, and we have to import from Lightning Message Service. Always to use message context whenever you are in the Lightning Web Component that extends Lightning element. So let's do that. We need to call the wire service, a message context, and this data will be stored in the property context. The wire is imported, so message context is ready. Now the other thing we want is to subscribe, and let's go to the slide and see the syntax of the subscribe. So the subscribe method take the message context we already have, takes message channel we already have sample MC, then the listener. Listener is a function basically that receive the message coming from the publisher. So it is a function basically that receive the message coming from the publisher. So it is a function that receives the message and will pass that message to another function where we can manipulate this message. And the fourth property is the subscriber option, and this is important when you want to pass the data to anywhere in the application. So it's always good to define your scope at an application level. So let's go and implement the subscribe functionality. I'll call the subscribe message or subscribe function. You already know it takes, I'll put the syntax on the top, and it takes the context first, message context. You have the context here. Then it takes the message channel reference. You already have that. Then after that we have listener. Listener is a function that will receive the message and pass the message to handle message. This can be any name that you're going to use in your component. Have this packet, and the fourth parameter is an object scope that will use application scope. So we are defining the scope. So now you might thinking why it's throwing an error, because we are in the class, and in the class you can't use the function directly. Either it should be in the method or it should be a adapter, right? So with the wire or add the rate properties. So what we can do is we'll create a method called subscribe message, and we'll put our whole code inside the method. So inside this method we are calling the subscribe, scope is there, and listener is there, our message channel is there, message context is here. So as soon as the component loads, we want to call this subscribe message, and to do that what we can do is we need to call the connected callback. This is the lifecycle hook that gets called on the page load. So to call this, we need to call this using this dot method name, and we are calling it on the page load. It will get called, and it's subscribe this, and now we have to create this handler. We'll say whenever the message comes, this handle message gets called, and this will do, we'll say store the data in the received message property. Let's create this property on the top. We'll say check if message and check message dot LMS data is there, data dot value is there. If not, then say no message, no message published, and if it's there, just use this message. So it's the ternary operator. If this operation execute to true, this condition will return, otherwise this condition will return. So if value is empty, we'll return the no message published. And now let's go and create the card for our second component X. I'll create a card X, lightning card. Then we need to add the margin around it. Let's create the margin, and let's add the message received, and the message that is received, let's make it bolder, and let's print that message that is coming for second component. And we can update the meta files with the same things. We want this is exposed to true, and we want the lightning app message as a target. So let's deploy. So now both the component is deployed. So let's go to our org. In the org, in my app 0 to hero, I already created a lightning messaging service app page. Let's edit the page and place our component. Our component name is LMS. I'll place component A on the left hand side and the X component on the right hand side. Let's hit save and let's go back. And now both components are there. There is no relationship. Both components are independent. If I simply click the publish button, it means I'm not passing the data, but I'm publishing an event. So as soon as I click this publish, it will receive some action. It didn't find the data, so it print no message published. It received the message, but it's showing no message published because the message is empty. Let's type some message. Hello from component A. Let's publish this. Now you see it's publishing the message that you're typing here. So this is how we communicate from one Lightning component to another using publisher and subscriber. There is a possibility you don't want to listen that, and for that we have another option called unsubscribe. So if you store the context of your subscribe method in a variable subscription, then you just pass that reference to the unsubscribe method. So let's do that as well. Let's go back to our second component, that is component X. And here what we'll do, we'll go to the our component HTML, and I'll just copy paste the div with a medium margin around. So I'll create a button here. I'll say lightning button, and I will say label unsubscribe. And after unsubscribe, I want on click method, and I'll say unsubscribe message is my handler name, so I'll pass this message. And in the JS file, what I'll do, I'll create this method unsubscribe, and to unsubscribe the subscription, what I need to do is I have to create a property subscription. This property name can be anything. I am using subscription. I'll store the subscription reference into this property subscription, and when I need to unsubscribe this, I have to import unsubscribe and call this method with the reference of our subscribed instance. So I'll say unsubscribe this subscription, okay, and empty this subscription once it's unsubscribed. So let's deploy and see how unsubscription works. And now it's deployed. Let's go and refresh the page. And now let's publish something. Hooray. I published it, received the data, hooray, immediately. And then I'll say hooray, hello, bye. I published everything published. Now what I'll do is I'll clean this out and I click on unsubscribe. And now let's try publishing something. Component A, let's publish this. Now you see it's not publishing because we already unsubscribed it. You can control your subscription using unsubscribe method. And in this demo, I showed you how you can communicate from one component to another. Component A is publishing the data. Component X is receiving the data. And now you guys try yourself to publish the data from a component X, and component A should receive the data. And let's see how it works. So that's how our LMS component communication works from component 1 to component 2. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video.